One, two, three, 4, 5.
Marty and Mary, Doug, Trish, Joyce, David and Joyce. Oh, I can't. Not unless they actually comment. I don't know. There's only 3 people. I don't know. The only way I would know is if they put a comment. One other thing.
Yes. Pick it up and talk into it like this. You're going to get picked up on that. This is another one.
I don't want to use it.
Okay. Well, then it'll pick up.
No, I mean, this is the one I'll speak into. The only
Right.
time I'll use this is if I have to take the mic out there, right?
Okay.
Just have a room.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, we'll fish it. We'll probably get to about the second table.
Okay, we'll make it work. Yeah.
We'll help you whatever you need. So don't feel like you're doing this by yourself.
So you're already my fabulous life. Well, in 5 minutes. He's got on that screen over there. He's the only one on this thing. I've got 3 listeners. They are, but we do have 3 listeners. So we encourage people to sit down.
Your brother's Ron?
Yes. Oh, good. We got everybody there. Welcome, everyone, to a very special memorial tea in honor of our dear aunt and close friend and cousin, neighbor, and a wonderful supporter of Mystic and Masonicare. And this is a global memorial tea because we've got family and friends joining us from London, England, from Ontario, Canada. They're joining us from Columbus, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, Portland, and Tokyo. So you will hear several folks speaking in a few minutes as we go through this program. And at your table here at Masonicare, I've included, you have the program for our little memorial tea, and you also have words because remember, Anne loved to sing. Anne took great joy in singing, and so we are going to ask you all to join us in singing during this program. Let me just say a little bit about Anne. As I think most of you know, Anne grew up in Yokohama, Japan, and then the family moved to Montreal, Canada. And she really started her career in London, England for a good decade, for 10 years, before coming back to New York City, where she enjoyed a wonderful career in interior design as an award-winning, recognized interior designer. And, you know, the thing that's really important to think about as we think about our dear Anne is that not only was she a citizen of the world, she loved to travel, and she hosted folks at her penthouse from all over the world as well. But she also had many, many talents. She really enjoyed painting, and we have one of her paintings here this afternoon with us. We also have, in addition, she loved to photograph. We have pictures that she took, and there's an example here. And one of her most favorite pictures was this picture from her penthouse. And she used it as a Christmas card in 1988. And it had the phrase on the top of it, which we all loved, reaching toward the light. And that indeed spoke so much about our dear Anne. She loved reaching for the light. So she was a painter, a photographer. She loved to sew and design her own clothes. And she also was an amazing gardener. And we'd often find her either at her penthouse working on her garden in New York City, or we'd find her up at the Stone House helping Elaine and Joanne with the gardening up there. But in addition to these talents, we need to note, and it's in your program, that Anne was a deeply spiritual person. She was a very devoted Christian Scientist for years, and was a member of Third Church on Park Avenue in New York City for years. And then she was also a very devoted member of the Christian Science Church here in Mystic, and absolutely loved this Mystic Church. And for our family, it was a real treat to be able to hear her serve as second reader on a Sunday service at the Mystic Church. So I'm going to start by asking a good friend of Anne's, Suzanne Albert, to share some readings with us. So Suzanne, come on up, please.
Hi. Anne loved the way I read, and she asked me about 10 years ago, will you please read at my memorial service? And I thought, oh, Anne, I really don't want to think about that right now. And she did comprise some readings, which we can't find, but these readings were put together by Wendy and Rob, and I'm going to read them. The readings are from the Bible, the King James Version, and the book written by Mary Baker Eddy entitled Science and Health, with Key to the Scriptures. God is love. Well, this is 1 John from the Bible. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Science and health. Man is the family name for all ideas, the sons and daughters of God. All that God imparts moves in accord with him, reflecting goodness and power. Psalms. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Matthew. Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Science and health. Love, redolent with unselfishness, bathes all in beauty and light. Man and woman, as coexistent and eternal with God, forever reflect in glorified quality the infinite Father, Mother, God. And from Science and Health. Divine love is my shepherd. I shall not want. Love maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Love leadeth me beside the still waters. Love restoreth my soul, spiritual sense. Love leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for love is with me. Love's rod and love's staff, they comfort me. Love prepareth a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Love anointeth my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house, the consciousness of love forever. Matthew. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
Thank you, Suzanne. Those were beautiful readings. And Anne was right. You've got a great voice and a great reading style. So thank you so much. So it's time for us all to exercise our vocal cords and join the soloist from the Mystic Church in singing a verse from one of Anne's favorite hymns. It's hymn 406, and it's titled, "O Love, Our Mother Ever Near." And I'm going to ask Rich to come on up and join us. Rich is the soloist here, and he's going to lead us all. And we're so fortunate to have the pianist from the church, Bobby Shipley. Bobby, thank you again for what you're doing for us. And Rich, do you want to stand over here? So right over here. And Bobby's going to start, and then you all have these words. So I ask you to join in, because remember, one of Anne's wonderful, wonderful things she loved to do was to sing. So, Bobby, strike it up.
See that man is ever one with thee. In love, our lives no dust and fold, and now our waiting hopes that we hold, that man is God's own child.
Thank you all. And for those of you joining us from around the globe, we appreciate because you all had the words too, so we appreciate you all singing along with us. I want to note that one of Anne's very special friends and a family that she was very close to was the Rowland family. And the flowers today come from Erwin Rowland, who hopefully is joining us as a listener from her home in Virginia. And Erwin, we really appreciate these beautiful flowers. And I found, just to share with you an important insight, I found in Anne's papers a statement from David Rowland's father. And it's very brief, but it's so powerful, and it kind of speaks to what Anne was all about. And it goes like this: "Are you in earnest? Then seize this very minute. What you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. Boldness hath genius, power and magic in it. Only begin and the mind grows heated. Commence and the work will be completed." And that's from David Rowland's father. And Erwin, if you're listening, we thank you so much for these beautiful flowers. It's time to hear from some very special family friends. And we have two speakers here with us at Masonicare and Mystic who are going to offer some reflections on Anne. And then we're going to go to our global system and hear from family and friends around the world. So I'm going to invite my dear cousin, Elaine Bogue, who with her partner Joanne and Anne really are the trio, the three female musketeers who are responsible for redoing the stone house into its wonderful glory. So Elaine?
That was my speech.
No, come on up here.
Hello, everyone. So the first I knew that I was going to be speaking here was when I got an email from Rob saying that I was going to be speaking here. I hate doing public speaking. So if I faint, just kick me aside and go on with the tea, and we'll be fine with that. So my mother and Anne were first cousins, which I think makes Anne and I first cousins once removed. And my first earliest memories of Anne are probably back about 1958 when I was like 8 years old. And I had the joy, the great whatever of living an idyllic childhood on Quackatog Hill at the family farm with my family, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my McHugh cousins lived on one side, all of my Collier cousins lived on the other side, and all the Williamses lived down the lane. And it was just a wonderful childhood. So one summer, I don't know, probably 1958 or so, all this buzz was, Ann's coming home, Ann's coming home, Ann's coming home. It's like, I'm looking at the other kid, who's Ann? I don't know who's Ann. So, well, sure. Everyone was excited except my mother, who she insisted that this Ann person stole every boyfriend she ever had. And when I saw Ann, I think it's probably true. You know, this woman showed up gorgeous, elegantly dressed, such a nice, wonderful, wonderful person. So, like 20 years go by, Ann's down in New York. I'm living my life. She's living her life. I don't see her maybe once a year or so. And let's see what was supposed to come next. I told you I wasn't good at this. Oh, I know. So it turned out that Ann and I shared a dream, a lifelong dream. And that dream, as Rob said, was to rebuild the stone house. So with the help of my partner, Joanne, we got the money together that we started building in 2013. It was like a shock, I think, to everyone in the town. People would drive. It was like, I felt we were at like Las Vegas, and all the cars were slowly driving by, taking pictures in both directions. And so after 3 years of basically overseeing the work with what the guys were doing, we were there sweeping, as you might have seen, and vacuuming and making sure they were doing everything right. In December of 2016, we finally finished building the house. And so we picked a weekend and we were going to sleep there for the first time ever. And we were supposed to get our certificate of occupancy like the week before, but there was some electrical thing was wrong and we didn't get it. So Ann was like, well, let's just sleep there anyways. So it's like, it's all right. So you know how she was. I can just hear her giggling now when she was thinking, let's do it anyways. So we did. We slept there the first time illegally and she was delighted. But then we did get it the next week. And so I'm just so happy that Ann realized her greatest dream. But actually, rebuilding the stone house was not her greatest dream. Her greatest dream was to reconnect with her son David, which happened in, I think, 2011 or so. And so if anyone on earth deserved that, to realize two great dreams, it was Ann. She's just a wonderful person. Thank you.
Let's give it a round of applause for Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. Another very close friend who has been helpful, incredibly helpful to Ann, is Whitney Talcott. And I'm going to ask Whitney to come up and offer a few words about his relationship with Ann, because I think, Whitney, part of your relationship with Ann was helping her get her real estate license. She didn't have enough business cards, so she needed to add another one to her repertoire. So Whitney, come on up, please.
Thank you, Rob. Good afternoon. I'm fairly new here and not of the family, but I kind of feel related to this nice family because one reason is my immigrant ancestors took the next voyage on the same ship in 1632 from England. So.
We are related then.
Yeah. Who knows what happened on those ships? Yeah, I only got to know Ann for about 30 years. I met her by accident when she arrived at a conference on land use that my mom was putting together in Old Saybrook. She was instantly friendly and became a frequent visitor at our house in Old Lyme. I remember Ann as the consummate New Yorker, living in her penthouse apartment with its wonderful terrace for 43 years. When riding the subway, she always knew which car to take so it would be easy connecting to the train at the next station. Of course, as a New Yorker, she loved to walk throughout Central Park and all over the city. One summer evening, we walked all the way from the tip of Manhattan through the Canyon of Heroes, the historic path of all the ticker tape parades, up to East 76th Street. Anne's legacy is really the Stone House in Quackitog Hill. She cared for it, promoted it, and preserved it long enough for it to be a reborn stone house emerging under Elaine and Joanne's hard work and design sense. So I'm going to miss Anne's stories about Japanese princesses, 1950s Danish furniture makers, working with Caesar Pelé, and driving around southwestern England in a 1929 Triumph 7, which is 7 is for the 7 horsepower, in the rain, and much, much more. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Whitney, thank you so much. And I have to also, mention the fact that you were so right. All of us who visited Anne in New York City on East 76, we learned from Anne the true art of walking. And in her notes and papers, I found, one reference to the fact that, oh yes, I walked 70 blocks today, and when we would visit, it would be, okay, let's walk over to Central Park. And so she really taught us all the craft of walking. It's time now to go to our global connections. And our next speaker is a gentleman who we are so thrilled to have on with us today. And David, actually Anne's son, is joining us from London, England. And David, honored you're with us, and just know that all of us in Mystic and around the globe and in this family, great family, know that Anne deeply loved you and cherished every moment she had with you. And the pictures of the two of you visiting together, whether it was here at the Dennison Homestead or up in London, are here with us today in Mystic. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Thanks, Rob. So brilliant. Elaine, that was very touching. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can.
David,
Great. Is that working? Do I need to present?
David, say a few words.
Going down a plug hole. That's you can hear. Okay.
She can hear.
That might work. Right. Oh, that's better. I can hear myself without hearing myself 800 times.
David, we're still trying to connect you with us so we can all benefit from your words. Trish, those online can hear you, but we're not. We're still trying to connect you with us so we can all benefit from your words. Trish, those online can hear you, but we're not. We're still trying to connect you with us so we can all benefit from your words. Trish, those online can hear you, but we're not. We're still trying to.
How's that?
All right. So we'll pause. If anyone needs to refresh their tea, we'll do that. But it might be appropriate at this point, while we wait to connect, to cover a couple of other items in the program. Everyone can bear with us that are really important items.
No. But it should be HDMI, right?
And when I'm thinking about Wendy,
It everyone can see and hear me.
And let's have our
Is
toast.
it working?
So come on up, Wendy.
Mm.
So for those of you. Okay, for those of you who are online, we're going to reflect Wendy McCauley, reflect on her relationship with Anne and lead us all, both those globally and those of you here in Mystic, in a toast to Anne, because we all know that Anne loved her tea.
Go ahead and talk. Can you hear me?
Anne was all about, and for those
I can hear you.
of her in Manhattan, or she came to visit us at our homes all over the U.S. and England and Canada. She always needed that tea. I just want to comment also that one of Wendy's roles, which was so important, is Anne had a third goal, and that was she always wanted to have a little sister. And when she introduced me to Wendy, she introduced me as Rob. You need to know that I now have a little sister, the fabulous Wendy McCauley. So Wendy, why don't you come on up and reflect on Anne, and we'll do a toast.
Hello. What can I say about a dear friend, someone I've known for over 30 years? We are members of the Christian Science Church, so we met here in Mystic. She was my daughter's Sunday school teacher for a time and also served in our church in many capacities. Anne was an entertaining storyteller, and she had many interesting stories to share about her world travels, her early life in Japan, her years in Canada, then London, then over 40 years in Manhattan. All along, though, she had a strong attachment to Old Mystic and the farm on Pequot Trail, where her mom grew up and other family members lived, and where Anne spent many happy summers and more. And we all know about her beloved stone house, also owned by her family, which we are very grateful that she got to see in its full renovation. Of course, the great miracle of her life was meeting her son, David, just over 10 years ago. Anne became part of our and her desire to always be helpful in any way that she could. And always a cup of tea brought such joy and appreciation. I'm grateful for what I've learned from her I never heard her complain about anything. Always looked on the bright side of things, and she could always laugh. She used to say, "It's so good to laugh." I saw her visit people who needed some tender, loving care. She helped others whenever the opportunity arose. Later, when she needed help herself, it was a little hard for her to accept it. She would say, "I've taken myself all my life. I don't need anything." She would sometimes refer to me as her mother Hannah. "I'm sorry, I'm going too much of a mother Hannah." She said, "I don't mind. I'll help you over a chip." She would thank me profusely for something, but I decided that it would not be so easy if she was grumpy and gloomy, but she was always so pleasant and grateful. I'm very grateful for the many helpers and caregivers here at Masonicare. A big thank you goes out to Maria Silva, to Lauren, Amanda, Tina, Michelle, Brandy, Eileen, Becky, Jean, Patrick, Dr. Felties, Karen, Joyce, Diane, and a very big thank you to Persis Ellis, who cared for Anne 24/7 for almost 10 months. I know Anne's bright light is continuing to shine. Let's now raise our teacups or water glasses in honor of our dear friend, Anne.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, Mike. So we'll ask him to unmute. Okay, should I go to this mic? Everybody's got their mics. Let's see. There's Doug. Doug, can you hear us?
I can, yep.
You can't hear you.
Can you hear me speaking?
Right.
David, can you hear me?
Should we go to this one?
Is this one?
No, I can hear you perfectly. It's just that over in Mystic, it sounds like they're being sucked into a black hole.
Right, I can hear you perfectly well.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
hear me
good.
perfectly well?
Yeah, perfectly well.
Yeah, maybe another Bizarro Land universe or something in Mystic. Who knows?
I think it might be somebody with feedback, like too many mics next to each other.
Yeah, could well be. Could well be. Yeah, I think we were hearing the same thing, the three of us, and that was intriguing to say the least.
Whatever it was the same thing. I couldn't hear Wendy, unfortunately. I would like to.
No, just the reverberation.
Yes.
Mike, should we unplug the PA and try this mic? Doug, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Almost no one in Mystic is allowed to talk, I think. Is it just?
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong.
I don't think so. We can hear each other, but I don't think anybody, as you pointed out in Mystic, can hear us.
Yeah, I don't know. Rob, can you hear us?
I think that would be a no.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, really
Outside of the Moon soundtrack.
Well, how about the three of us have a conversation? Now,
Yeah.
David, I know you, but I don't know who you're sitting beside. I don't think.
This is my other half. This
Can
is the
you
last-
hear me at all? Hello.
Oh, I can hear you, Rob.
Yes,
So I heard your other half, but I didn't hear a name.
Eliza.
Eliza, Doug Collier. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You might have
Very
recognized
interesting
HDMI and everything over here.
Ross at the Sony house that was still he's wearing sort of so probably the dungarees.
Yes.
And Anne's in the middle and I'm on the other side. So you have seen it before, but it was only 20 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, were you speaking to me?
Yeah, Eliza and I were in a picture in that montage at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. I kept hoping it would come by quickly so I could pick out everybody.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me at all, guys?
Yes.
Depends who you're talking to. You're talking to me and Doug.
Yeah.
We'll be back right after this.
So who else is there? That was another voice. Well,
1 2 1 2 1 2. See, their volumes are all the way up. Hello, 1 2 1 2.
whoever's saying 1 2 1 2, can you hear me speaking now?
I can hear you,
Okay,
Doug.
then.
I can also hear someone saying 1 2 1 2.
Yes. But they can't hear us.
Can they not? Can they
Yeah,
not
we
hear
can
us?
hear each other, no problem.
Let's try that. Can you hear us
So we
now?
should just have a little party, the three of us. You know?
They're having a big old conversation, you notice?
Can you not hear us in the stick?
No,
So-
they can't. That's
all
the
right.
problem.
What's that?
Do you have like that audio jack? And
I
it's
do.
like super old school. And that's coming.
This right here, this is what's plugged into my laptop. Is that plugged in there?
Yeah.
Try it.
Maybe if
I
I
don't
can
read
do
them.
this.
And I
All right, hold
don't
on.
read your stuff.
It's all right.
I need a walk.
How far are we gonna go?
David and Eliza, you can still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Doug.
So just in and out. Okay.
Oh, everyone.
Because the audio is going in there because that's plugged in and not plugged into here that we can stop picking up from system.
Okay.
And just a suggestion.
No, let's try it.
Just
Anything will work. Let's try it. All suggestions are appreciated.
Let's talk a little bit of football. And I'm using the term, I hope
Yeah,
correctly.
bring it with you. Yep.
England. you
I
like
know,
to
it's
do
always
that?
like a matter of 2 inches.
Like 6 inches.
Yeah, you too. I'm
Okay,
guessing
see
you're
if they can get
following
it
the
if
World Cup.
in the corner.
Watching the World Cup. Yes. Yeah.
Can you turn that mic on?
I'm Canadian,
Underneath it,
as you may
hold the
know, so
volume
we're
button.
gone. The
Oh,
US
yeah.
is gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see
Can you hear
Messi
us?
do something. So maybe I'm hoping for Argentina. We should just go and watch the games a while and come back. Maybe it's out there. Maybe you're watching.
Argentina and Australia.
Tested. Oh my. All right, I'm back on live here.
Okay.
All right. We still are having some audio problems, unfortunately, but can you hear me on?
Yes.
Yes, you can hear me. Okay. What we're going to do is try to figure out how we can get you back. All right. So we're gonna continue on and sing another song while Mike works on the technology, and then we'll come back because we still want to hear from our global guests. So bear with me.
I guess what's changed, you two, is there's no longer the reverberation we were getting earlier.
All right,
so
so
I guess we're moving in the right
go.
direction.
What we're going to do now,
Slowly.
Rich, let's do the Lord's Prayer. We need a prayer right now, so let's do the Lord's Prayer.
That's a good
We
one.
need a prayer. So Bobby, let's do the Lord's Prayer with Rich, okay? So in the program, it does pause. We pause for a moment to listen to our fabulous soloist, Rich, with the help of Bobby, sing the Lord's Prayer. So we're going to do the Lord's Prayer now while we continue to figure out this tech problem so we can get everyone dialed in. All right? Let's do it. Bobby and Rich, take it away.
Can you hear me? Raise your hand if you can hear me.
Well, I can hear you very, very lightly.
1 2 1 2.
Can hear the 1 2 1 2, but very softly.
Maybe we should mute ourselves. Well, I'm going to go on mute, Doug.
It's right there. Oh, it's worth a shot. No, because this is all going through here. But I'll put it on there. No, I know. How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
You can hear me? Raise your
Yes.
hands if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. David, can you take your microphone off of mute?
I have.
David, go ahead and try to speak.
Yeah, speaking now. Can you hear me?
I don't know why. It's just refusing to come through.
Doug, can you be perfect? Doug.
Did you ask me to speak? I'm speaking now. And I'm sure you two had wonderful stories to tell, and I've been practicing for 3 or 4 weeks now, so I've got mine down in fine art. So it's okay, 3 or 4 minutes, but you know, I talk extemporaneously, and we just hope for the best. Well, let me ask you two a question since we're waiting. I think there's going to be an in-person get-together in early summer. Are you folks coming by?
All you got to do is just bring your laptop in. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
I'll know what to do. Here, through here.
Yeah, we can make it as well. So we'll save our stuff until then. And then
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It might end up being that way, I think.
Say again?
It might end. Am I on mute? I'm on mute. Might have to be that way, I think. Technology is not
I
really
think
helping.
we're running out of time. We
I
only
know.
got 15 minutes left.
I know.
I'm going to have to cut my 27 minutes down a little, I guess. You know.
Yeah. David will have to just take off the extra 10 pages.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what?
Holy cow. Yeah, listen, yours look a lot more formal. I have all these little sheets, and but when I do it that way, it works less well. If I could just speak to a point, sort of what I do for a living because I'm a prof. So I'm in front of students
Oh, are you?
a lot of the time. Not that you should expect anything brilliant from me, but so I'm used to talking at least publicly to a lot of people.
Are you?
But I find, I'm sorry.
What are you a professor of?
We call it kinesiology and sports studies.
Oh, okay.
So it's at the motor end of things, the movement end of things, and I guess my background largely is.
Sarah, okay, she's just bringing one.
We're back, maybe.
Okay, so we're still working on this. Can you hear me? Raise your hands.
We can hear you, Rob. Can you hear us?
Can they hear me though?
We can hear you.
We can hear you, Rob.
Can you hear me? Can you hear Rob? Can you hear me?
Yep.
So you guys can hear us.
Right.
Yeah, and no echo this time.
And this is not funny anymore.
Yeah, this is not fun for me either.
But that was funny. That's a good line.
No, we want to hear from everyone.
Let's do this now.
Here. Echo. Yes. Go. You're just, don't know if you can read that.
Echo is
His
gone.
echo is gone now, yes. It's much better.
Just so I know that you folks know that, but at least we can give them that information.
I don't know if Rob's talking, but not only is the echo gone, but everything has gone.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2.
They're all on and they can hear us, but unfortunately we have.
You know, honestly, if I'm in Rob's position, I'm cutting my losses at this point. I would love
What do you
to
mean?
hear
Yeah.
come early summer.
Right there.
Get it, but this seems to not be happening as you pointed out.
About our year end. We
That it makes
received,
sense. It's all
an
fine.
email from a long-time
Yeah.
friend, John Chapman.
Well, I still
who
think they should
actually,
pay the
grew up
videographer,
with
the
Anne,
technical specialist,
in
because hey,
Yokohama,
he's given
Japan.
effort.
She and her brother Marty and John all hung out together, and we have pictures of them having reunions in Canada as well. But John said, would you please share with everyone this particular story I have about Anne and the mischief that she saved both Marty, her brother, and me out of. And so I'm going to just take a moment and read to you this
Yes, just plug it in the
about
power
this story.
I am paying attention to the proceedings, but do you want to have an update on the Argentina-Australia game? I can give you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Argentina 1, Australia 0.
Expected.
Yeah. Though they have underachieved in World Cups, as I understand it, over the years.
Well, there's been a lot of shocks this World Cup. A lot of favourites have gone out already. So, yeah.
Well, Saudi Arabia beating Argentina to start things off. Boy, but here they are in the round of 16.
Yeah, if they had lost, heads would have rolled.
It's crazy. It's
Good I did that.
I suppose we should be paying attention to what's going on. But
I can't hear anything.
No, there's so it sounds like you follow football pretty closely, and it's something that means a bit to you too.
Me not so much. World Cup are different, but no, David's a big
Brighton fan.
Brighton.
I support Brighton. If you follow the
Okay.
Just got
How
rid
are
of
they? Are they? I should know this. Division 1.
Yeah, they're in the Premiership, which is the top division,
top
the one
tier.
full of cash.
How do they do?
Doing extremely well. Chelsea have just got our manager. We've got a new manager now who's even better. And Chelsea are finding our old manager to be useless, which is great.
So if he was good with you folks, a little less good with them.
Yeah. and we got a lot of money for that and sold it. Also sold Chelsea Bay for £60 million, which is going to come in very useful. And he's not really good for Chelsea either. So, no, Brighton are doing very well.
Good.
About six,
Good. Happy for you.
Currently in the Premiership, so you should follow them.
Here in America, I follow, because I live in Western New York, the Buffalo Bills. Not sure if you follow American football at all,
No,
but
not really.
they've been
There's
underachieving for 20 years, and
the
this
Super
year,
Bowl is
they're
on
favorites.
here.
Sorry?
The Super Bowl is always on air here in.
Yeah, but it's usually in the middle of the night or whatever. So I'm afraid we don't follow it. I don't really understand it.
And often the games are underwhelming anyway, so best just to sleep through it.
Yeah, well, that's the same with football, in my opinion. Soccer.
Yeah.
A lot of the games are underwhelming, but anyway.
Did either of you play the game, or do you play the game? Because I mean, you're.
No, I used to play football, and then went to another school where it was a rugby school, which is like American football without the protective gear.
Hey, I work in kinesiology and sports studies. I know what rugby is.
Okay, good.
It's kind of what I do. I don't
play
play
cricket
it.
as well. We played cricket as well at school, which is a lot of people don't understand it. Americans do not understand cricket, and I can quite understand it because it's unbelievably complicated.
Actually, I use cricket when I teach a class in motor development. We contrast and compare what we call constraints to performance, and we compare, though the games are obviously quite different in many regards, baseball and cricket. And I shouldn't say that. In baseball, we have the pitcher, and in cricket, this I should know, it's not the person who throws the ball, isn't the pitcher, the bowler, correct? Yeah. And there are obviously different rules and regulations in terms of run-ups and in terms of the angle of the arm and all kinds of things. So I have my students contrast and compare issues around velocity and accuracy. And so we do bring up cricket, though I can't tell you I understand it really well. But again, no gloves or anything.
It goes on before the 5 days, Doug. I mean, you need to have a bit of stamina to be able to watch cricket.
No, I do hear it can go on and then goes on a little further after that.
It's quite dull. It's very dull.
No, it's like battle of tactics, ebb and flow of the game. The weather influences it.
Sure.
Fans and drink beer and enjoy stuff with your friends. You can take your eye off the game for an hour or so. Look back, nothing much has
Nothing's
changed.
happened. But the beer part, I could certainly get behind that. So maybe I'd enjoy this game. Good reason to drink lots of beer and hang out with my friends. But there you are.
What is this people talking about? We can't hear any of that.
I don't know. I can't hear. No. Just enjoying the conversation. I'll tell Rob that at least the three of us had a good time. At least from my perspective.
A message from Ron Collier saying he's enjoying our conversation.
Oh, he's hearing. Hey, Ronnie, I guess we can't hear or see you, but Ronnie's all about playing cricket. There's no doubt about that. And rugby and darts. Another good beer drinking game, I would suggest. Though I get into darts as well when I talk about motor development, motor performance, and I make it, you have to really balance things. You have the dart in one hand, of course, and you have a pint in the other.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of, depends on how much is left in the glass.
I'd hesitate to call darts a sport, but I think they do.
They do call it a sport. Cheerleading as well. Go figure. But that is a philosophical discussion. I have a great friend, Chris and I, my wife and I have a great friend. His name is Cesar Torres. He's one of the premier sport philosophers, and there is such a profession in the world, fundamentally. And so there's all kinds of discussion about what is and what is not a sport and how one defines sports. But I will say, I may have mentioned he's from Argentina.
Doug, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
This is awesome. They can hear. We can hear them now, but they can't hear us.
Because we're not on like a
You can hear
us?
Yes. Woo!
All right. This is good news. So, Doug,
Rob, turn round. Rob, turn round. The camera's behind you.
So
Maybe if you can tell one of them to me.
Because it's going to feed back. So just say one at a, like David goes first, right?
So David's.
Now we can't hear Rob.
Uh-oh. Yep, he's gone. Rob, could you hear us? Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, or me.
And everyone else online, but David, we need you to speak.
Rob, can you hear us?
No one.
Yes, we can hear you.
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, or me.
Everyone else online, but David, we need you
Give
to
us.
speak.
There's like a 4-second delay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us.
We have a delay, but we can hear you. So David, let's
We just crack on. See what
try
happens.
David again, okay? We have a delay, but we can hear you. So David, let's.
Right. Rob, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Well, I've written something down. I'm not very good at, like Elaine was saying, not very good at public speaking. So I wanted to get my thoughts down on paper. So if it sounds like I'm reading, it's because I am. So today we say goodbye to dearest Anne. Anne was my birth mother. She was a mother that for most of my life I never knew. And for most of her life, Anne was a mother that never knew me, her son. She told me that from the moment she said goodbye to me as a tiny baby, she always wondered where I was. But on the 2nd of November, sorry, wrong month, on the 2nd of October, 2011, a hot Sunday in London, we met face, and at last she knew for the very first time where I was. I was standing in front of her. She excitedly gave me a soft toy, little blue elephant. A strange gift for an adult, you may think, but she'd wanted to give me this little blue elephant as a newborn baby, but she'd never had the chance. She'd been waiting for this moment for over 50 years, and here he is. He's a tiny bit older than I am. For all those years, myself and my sister Paula were brought up by Ian and Kay, our amazing parents who we love dearly, but so sadly are no longer here. And without them, I certainly wouldn't be the David many of you have come to know. But there's obviously a bit of Anne that's part of me too. And after meeting her and spending time with her and seeing how her humor, her creativity, her great taste, and a slight tendency to hoard stuff ran like a thread through her life, it's more than likely. It really is some sort of miracle that we found each other, mother and son. It has completed the circle that for most of my life was a mystery. And I'm so glad that finding each other brought Anne so much happiness. And also for her, a sense of that same circle being completed. And she at last felt able to reveal her secret, which is me, that she'd kept to herself for over 50 years. And not only did I find my mother Anne, I also found an extraordinary bunch of characters that I'm delighted to be able to call my new family and friends. It must have come as quite a shock to you all. So thank you for making myself and Eliza feel so welcome. And although it's been terribly sad to see her getting more frail as the recent days went by, and my thanks go out to all who helped her, my enduring memories will be of spending happy times with a fun, vibrant, glamorous, and dare I say, a little bit of a rascal lady for whom life was one big adventure. She's sadly missed. And that's me done.
Well, that was great. I appreciated listening to that a lot. That was me at this point, but hey, I can't hear Rob. This is, of course, Doug. Should I go ahead? Not sure if I'm live at the moment. Is there some way that somebody, go ahead, I see. So that's what I'll do. I was ready for action 15 or 20 minutes ago, as you people know, and at that point I was going to be tremendously eloquent. Now maybe a little less so, but I'll give it a try. it's certainly a privilege and honor and a great joy to be part of this memorial tea for Anne. And I've known Anne for most of my life, although I haven't seen her nearly as frequently as many of you. But those occasions that we did get together were certainly memorable and international, I should add. We got together in Bermuda in 1969. I remember being with her in Central Park with a great friend of mine who remains my friend 60 years later, Jamie Walker, with Anne, I mentioned, at Central Park. And a wonderful time or two in the eastern townships of Quebec, up in Montreal when Chris and I lived in Montreal. And of course, I had the chance to visit her in New York City on a couple of occasions, most recently 2012. Though I do have a few stories, I'm going to stick, I think, with two quick ones. Rob has eloquently spoke of Anne being a wonderful gardener and a singer and a photographer, and the list goes on beyond that. But I think what many of you, probably all of you, don't know is that she was a tremendous quarterback. So I remember in 1968 being with, as I mentioned, Jamie Walker and Anne in Central Park. My friend Jamie had just picked up a J5V American football. I was so excited to try the football out that the three of us ran to the park, sauntered to the park, walked to the park, and had a really robust and vibrant game of 1-on-2 football. And I can only tell you that though she may not beat Josh Allen, for those of you who follow the Buffalo Bills, she had a tight spiral, could really fling the ball. So you may not have known that, but Anne was quite the football quarterback back in the day. My second story I'll share with you gets at what David just, I guess a term David just used in describing his mother, describing Anne, and that's a rascal. I'd call her a scufflaw. People have called her a free spirit. And they've also called me those very words. And back in the day, something that's entered the Collier family, I won't say lexicon, but family lore, maybe it's lived in infamy, is the day way back in the early 70s. We were all down in the eastern townships, just south of Montreal. And Anne and I shared a love of photography. And so we went out, maybe early afternoon, and we took lots and lots of, I'd like to think, fabulous photographs. Had a great time, probably shared some tea. Okay, she had tea, probably I had a glass of beer. And then all of a sudden, it was about 5 p.m, and it occurred to probably Anne, but maybe me, one of the two of us, that we were to pick up dinner. And we'd forgotten entirely about that. And dinner was about to take place in about 7 minutes. And, so clearly we're going to be really late, and we didn't have any dinner, of course. And so we found, and this was long before the days of microwave ovens, we found a little dépanneur 7-Eleven convenience store, and we had to bring home something. So we ended up picking up a frozen ham. Didn't go so well. My mother and dad weren't too happy, and this was brought up every year, and then every year. So just remember Anne so fondly for so many reasons, but I thought I'd share those two quick stories with you. So thank you for the time, and again, great to be part of this fabulous celebration. All the best. So I'm not sure if I'm still here, but I'll stop talking and see what comes next. So maybe somebody could let me know. We're back. Yep, there are three of us.
Time to turn the camera over to Ron Collier in Salt Lake City. So, Ron.
Hey.
There are three of us. Time to
Hey
turn
guys.
the camera over to Ron Collier in Salt Lake City. So, Ron. So, Doug, if you can mute.
So yeah.
Ron, you're now live.
Hi guys. Hi everybody. Ann and I are just feel really privileged to be part of this. I'll just make it really quick. Auntie Anne just really opened up a big world to me, including travel and of course New York City. Just absolutely, living on Quackitog Hill. country life, rural, and then being able to see New York City through her eyes and her love for that city. It was just amazing. And I got to experience that when I was at George Washington University. I would go up to see her on weekends. And then in my early professional life, I was working a lot in New York. I could have stayed at a hotel, but I always stayed, totally welcomed the opportunity to be on the couch and not in a hotel bed. Doing to Broadway shows, museums, of course, strolls in Central Park. It was just wonderful experience and just loved her. But more importantly, she was a friend. She just never judgmental, always supportive. And I'll just never forget that. Really my first, older adult friend. So just made a huge impact on me. So, and I miss her. We do. Yeah. So anyway, thanks guys. Yep. So carry on.
Hi, everyone. I don't know, maybe you can see me, but I only see a blank screen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see anything.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
We'll have our two-way conversation now. Should I go ahead?
Hey, Patty, it's Doug. We can all hear you. Can't tell you if other people can hear you, but I'd just go ahead if I were you.
Can you see me?
Nope.
Huh. How come?
Couldn't tell you.
All right. Well, just 1 second. Oh, well, I'll just, I don't know. SN, maybe you could say whether you can hear me. We can't. No, I know you can't, David. I don't know why.
If you want to practice, you can practice on the three of us.
Oh, I can go. I can go. I wished you could see me. But anyway, I want to just share that Randy's sorry not to be here with me today. He's at a hospital board retreat to plan for the next years, I guess. Anne was very dear to our whole family, and he wanted to share that he really enjoyed visits with her here and there. I also want to bring greetings from Catherine Stobel. Catherine's the daughter of one of Anne's great early friends in her teenage and early 20 years, Jean Rutherford, if that name rings a bell to any of you. And that's when they went to school together in Compton. And we recall that Anne and Jean were riding bikes down a country road when D-Day was declared and they were in the Eastern Township together. So I wanted to just share three ideas about Annie Ann, one being wonder. And personally, as a young woman in my teens and in my 20s and as a young mom, I reflect on her success, her professional success and living alone in New York and everything that encapsulated for someone coming from a smaller center, and just in awe of my aunt that way. And more recently, in terms of our family story, in 2015, we had wonder around how Annie Ann traits, here and there through New York with us in sleeting April weather, wearing her favorite loafers. And then my third example of wonder is how she and David found each other after all that long time. My second theme is on enthusiasm. And again, with the Larkin family visits through New York and also Mystic when Mom and I visited her at Masonicare. But in New York, our family walked on the Brooklyn Bridge and brought her to a musical theater. And in fact, that was the first time for Auntie Anne, as she explained, she actually preferred opera, I think she told us during all those years. So it was fun to bring her along to other sites. Another enthusiasm was around her delicious Easter ham. And unlike Doug's story about a frozen ham, we bake ham that is now referred to as Auntie Anne's ham, and it's a fantastic recipe. And then also on enthusiasm, here we had her for Christmas a few times, and we loved baking her lemon drop cookies. It was a huge batch of recipes, and we have pictures especially of her and Jillian making those together. And then my third theme is around beauty, and we all know and have heard of Auntie Anne's advertisement for Lady Grecian formula. But I want to share an example of her seeing beauty in the world. And I'm going to cry a little bit, but I have her Christmas card from 21 years ago, the year of 9/11. And the Christmas card was of flowers of her on her penthouse patio deck. And in the card, and I have it in front of me here. This is from Auntie Anne in her own words. The flowers seem emblematic of the stability and kindnesses we came to experience. I could write a lot about this, but I hope the picture says it all about renewal, beauty, and love. And I think we've heard a lot about that over the course of this afternoon. So in closing, I just want to thank everyone who cared so deeply and helped Auntie Anne tremendously. I'd start with my dad, actually, who loved his sister so much and tried to help her, sometimes on the financial planning side, and also with other fun visits with Mom, Bob, and Marguerite especially. I want to thank Marty and Mary for their massive effort to help move Auntie Anne to Mystic. And to Elaine and Joanne, obviously the whole project and all the help through the years when she was living in Connecticut. Rob and Diane, going back and forth and everything you do. And last but not least, to Wendy, who I think we would all agree, Auntie Anne wouldn't have had the life she had all the last few years without your help. So thank you and visits. Thanks everyone for including me. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everybody for the great remarks. I'm Marty Collier, and Rob was referring to my dad, Marty Collier, so a namesake, and appreciate what Trish just said about all the thank yous to everyone, for what everybody's done. And here's Mary with me. So I got to read a few things because people know that I'm verbose, but maybe I won't be if I read something. Annie Ann was a global citizen, and she was born with travel in her veins. And I think that's come down to us for sure. And through her parents, my grandparents, who were born in the UK and the USA, respectively, but met in Japan, though they married in New York. Anne and then my dad were born in Japan. And she used to say, I saw a letter to John Chapman. She used to say they were made in Japan, just like, products were made in Japan. And though they were considered British citizens. And due to the Second World War, the family moved to Connecticut and Montreal, like Rob was saying off the top. And that was very fortunate for Doug, Trish, Jeff, and I, because that's where my dad met my mom. And after graduation from Compton in 1945, where I actually went to school in 1977, so I was almost following in her footsteps. And then in McGill in 1950, where several people graduated from, Annie Ann traveled and worked in the UK, but returned to the US to become a temporary non-immigrant. And I have her application to be a permanent resident of the USA in 1960. And my grandfather wrote in an affidavit, "My daughter is a person of good moral character and has never been arrested or in trouble with the law." But of course, we've heard today that some people think she was a scuffler and a rascal. And she even slept at the Stone House before people were allowed to. So maybe that was obviously after becoming an American citizen. Anyway, a good moral character is what is part of what made Annie Ann a great role model for all of us, and definitely for Mary and I. She always worked hard from part-time jobs at, I'm not sure if folks know this, at the Bertram Mills Circus in England. And also, obviously, we do know as an interior design career, she had an interior design career in New York City. And not too many people can say they were selected, as Trish just referred to star in a Lady Grecian commercial that was seen in both the US and Canada. And that was much to our surprise when we saw her all of a sudden in our living room on TV in 1974 or 75. And she hadn't told us about that. So, there's Sarah Ann on TV. That was unbelievable. One of my first childhood memories with Annie Ann was visiting her in New York City in 1965. We went to see Mary Poppins, and on another trip was seeing The Love Bug in 1969. It was very cool seeing my aunt in New York City and when she visited us in Montreal. I think she may have even been with me when I bought my first pair of bell-bottoms in 1969 or something. And since my dad died in 2007, Mary and I visit her often in New York City and Connecticut. We had fantastic conversations and day trips to Mystic, seeing the Stone House, of course, the Watch Hill, and then going to Manhattan, the Bronx, Coney Island. We couldn't believe how fast she would walk the streets in New York City, despite the cars, the people, the sandwich boards, and we couldn't keep up with her, even though she was by that time in her actually probably 86 or 87 years old. We'll always remember Annie Ann's love of history, especially family history, which she would go into it with us with incredible detail. She had a story for every item. She could remember it like it was yesterday. And as an environmentalist, I very much appreciated all the volunteering she did to protect land and water. She was out there stopping roads in Mystic from being widened and Monsanto from renting Denison homestead lands. But most of all, we remember her amazing, independence, her style, her creativity, her laugh, her smile, and unbelievable interest in others. And in 93, Annie Ann outlived everyone else in her immediate family. She has now rejoined her parents, my dad, Uncle Dick, Uncle Bob, and many other friends dearly departed upstairs. So I'd like to read a poem she wrote when she came to my 50th birthday in 2010. And actually, I'm going to let Mary read it because I might not get through it.
All-encompassing love and joy spring from one and all, encircling dove, spreading wings of laughter sparkling, making celebration fair. Each and every one together, colors tumbling in kaleidoscope, tapestry of hues and lights, each a star in starry nights.
So she just, we have a history and sort of a tradition of writing poetry in the family, and she just came and whipped that off, and it was definitely got the prize, and still is a prize poem. So rest in peace, Annie Ann. Though I miss you so much, I know I was lucky to have you for 62 years of my life, and Mary called you Aunt for almost 40. We know you'll be with us in spirit for the rest of our lives, and we'll see you on the other side. We love you.
Hello. Hello, dear friends and family of the beloved Anne Collier. I am so sorry she has left us, but I am eternally grateful for all the things we did together and all the lovely occasions to be neighborly. Anne's constant, upbeat attitude and interesting conversation brought all who knew her much happiness over the years. I first met Anne when I returned to New York City after I lost my husband Charlie in 1973. Anne lived in Penthouse A down the hall from my in-laws, Ed and Elizabeth Horman. She was loving and a helping neighbor to them and later to me when I moved into the same building. Her penthouse was elegant, filled with lovely fabrics and furniture, as she was a Class A interior decorator. Anne was always beautifully dressed. She had enormous style. We went to the opera together several times and enjoyed each other's company always. Anne's greatest love, however, came later in her life when she found the son she had been separated from. I had the immense joy to see her reunited with him, and I think it was 2008, but I don't remember exactly. Her happiness manifested as a glow that was always with her after that. It was as if her heart grew even larger and her life had been fulfilled. One more thing, no one else mentioned her collection of Japanese dolls. They should be on display someplace. They were so beautiful, and it was such a wonderful collection. Anyway, I'm very grateful to be here with you today to honor and cherish Anne Collier, a most generous and beautiful spirit. Thank you so much. Love you, Anne.
A lot about our dear Auntie Anne today. In closing, we need to do one more thing, and that is we need to invite our dear Auntie. Who has been at Masonicare since Anne arrived at Masonicare and is our representative from Masonicare. And Brandy, we want to again thank you, all of your colleagues, all of the residents of Masonicare for their great love and care for Anne. But please come up and you can take the mask off for us. Thank you. Thank you, Brandy. Say a few words.
So this isn't easy standing here. I've seen many of you come and go throughout Masonicare visiting Anne, and I'm so great to see your faces again. I just wanted to share 2 stories that will stick in my head every time I think of Anne. The first time I actually ever met Anne was when I covered the front desk and she came down for milk. And then as the weeks went on, as I covered the front desk when we were short, every day at 12 o'clock, Anne came down for a quart of milk. And I couldn't figure out who drinks that much milk. So every time she came, I always made sure that we had a quart of milk, whether I asked the kitchen for it or I had it at the front desk. That's all she wanted, and it brightened her day. I also have one other story. I know that they did mention the dolls. On my first outing with Anne, I actually took her to the Lyman Allen Art Museum, and I had a group of about 12 people, and I couldn't figure out where Anne kept going. She was searching for something, but I wasn't sure what she was searching for. Till I decided to ask her, because we were on a guided tour, she was searching for her Japanese dolls. And she was not going to go through the museum and enjoy the museum until she found those dolls. So Anne and I went through the entire museum until we found them on the lower level, and all she wanted to do was sit there and look at the dolls. So we enjoyed about an hour conversation about her Japanese dolls. I will forever miss Anne. I'm very grateful to have been in her life and to have her here at Masonicare at Mystic. And I'm so grateful to see all of her lovely family members here as well. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Brandy. Brandy, don't go away. Okay. As we all know, Anne was a wonderful gardener, and she wanted to make sure that the gardening here at Masonicare continued. And this is a little present from all of us for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've gone over, but we've heard from everybody, but we have one last thing that we all need to do together, and that is we need to sing. So, Bobby, let's get Rich, come on up. At your places, and those of you online, receive the words as well. We're going to look at a verse of a hymn that Anne loved. It's hymn 350, and it's titled Through the Love of God Our Savior, and we're doing the third verse. So I invite you all to join Rich and Bobby. Bobby, why don't you strike it up and let's sing this.
We expect a bright tomorrow, all will be well. Faith can sing through days of sorrow, all must be well. While His truth we are applying, and
On His love relying,
God is every need supplying. All is well.
Well, let's hear it for this wonderful pianist and soloist who helped lead us. Let's give him a round of applause for all of you joining us globally from around the world as listeners. We're very grateful that you were able to join us and participate and listen in on this special memorial tea. And when you have your next cup of tea, whatever type of tea it may be, you can think of Auntie Anne. And indeed, all is well. Thank you so much, everyone. We are now adjourned.